Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is going to be Raiders Rookie Minicamp winners and losers. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to spend way more time on the winners than I am the losers, and when you see the losers on the show, every single person's going to go, yeah, I'd probably consider that person a loser as well. But you know what? If you want to become a winner, then you got to get started with our sponsor here, Panda Sups. Use code Jeanty, Jeanty, to get 25% off at pandasups.com. Also, a little bit later on today's show, I'm going to show you what my wedding stack is, which is essentially the products that I have been using to help me get into better shape for my wedding, which, crazy enough, 24 days away. Wild, wild, wild. We are also going to, yeah, Chucks, you can get out of it now. We are also going to be breaking these down from like number 5 to number 1. As 5 is not the biggest winner, but they are a winner. Number 1 is going to be the biggest winner. Let's go in here. Number 5 is going to be Tommy Mellott at wide receiver. And Mellott this weekend really showed that he's a much better athlete. He's a quick learner. And I had a source tell me that he's a sponge and just a good football player. He's going to be used in special teams, which is something that we know. He is a better route runner than what was anticipated. He also showed that he can catch pretty well with his hands, but he's got clearly the speed. He's got the quickness, and the key word that I'll say in there is he's a sponge. Like, you need a player like Tommy Mellott to be a sponge, right? And when we interviewed him a few weeks ago, he's talking about Raiders great Clem Daniels back from 1961 and 1967. Like, that to me is a player that does his homework. And for Mellott to work, to become a quarterback at FCS, to work as a wide receiver, to be considered the next Julian Edelman, you got to be a sicko and you got to be a sponge. And I do really think that Tommy Mellott is a sicko and a sponge, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Let's go to number 4 here. It's going to be Dante Thornton Jr. And I said this earlier in the week that when I look at Dante Thornton Jr., it kind of reminds me of Martavis Bryant, of just this alien-like wide receiver who's 6'5", who towers over everyone and just can run, dude. Like, he's not only really big, he's got legit 4.3 speed, and it's so effortless watching him run his strides. I mean, it's literally like watching a gazelle. I mean, he's just running down the field long like, I mean, imagine you on an elliptical at 4.3 speed. That's Dante Thornton Jr. I also know this, that his personality is a great match with Pete Carroll. Carroll's going to bring the energy. Carroll's going to want somebody that can crack some jokes, can make the wide receivers laugh. Thornton is already establishing himself as one of those players, and the Raiders are just excited about his potential. Yes, he was used in a gimmicky offense, which I think is the nice way to put it, at Tennessee, and he was used as a field stretcher where he averaged, 25.4 yards per catch. But there is some legitimate upside there, and if Thornton can perfect his craft, I'm telling you, he's got some serious upside. Let's go to number 3 here, and it's going to be offensive lineman, another rookie. It's Caleb Rogers, and I had somebody tell me that Caleb Rogers is the oldest rookie that they've ever seen, and he's wise beyond his years. And when you heard Caleb Rogers talk to the media, I think it was earlier in the week, maybe it was right first day of rookie minicamp, maybe it was last Friday. He talked about having a 5-year-old, and he kind of just talked about what he was going to bring to the table and how he was trying to just be ready to play at all positions. But when I got he's wise beyond his years, I mean, that didn't surprise me at all. He is also clearly a leader. And one of the things that you got to look for early on in rookie minicamp is, like, it's easy for Jeanty to walk in a room and command respect. It's easy for Max Crosby to walk into a room and get respect. Geno Smith, easy to do it. When you're an offensive lineman, and Caleb Rogers, again, was drafted in the 3rd round, it's not as easy for you to be able to walk into a room and say, hey, look at me, this is what I'm saying. But Rodgers is doing that, and it's not in a bad way. It's a leadership type of mentality, and it's already being noticed by coaches and players. I also was told that he's a hard worker, and he's much more athletic than what I anticipated. So somebody who's at practice knows my thoughts about Rodgers, and he was the lowest graded player that I gave in my Raiders grades. I was basically said, I was told you're going to be eating those words because he's a lot more athletic than what I originally thought. And honestly, dude, I hope you're right. Now there's a huge tier break. I'm going to be honest. The 2 biggest winners from minicamp, and it's not close, are going to be the 2 names that I'm about to mention here. First one, Coming in at number 2, Jack Bech. And he is a dog. He brings that Max Crosby mentality, and he tries to beat the shit out of you with every rep that he does. He's a smooth route runner. You can already see that he's got great hands, and he's just much more athletic in person. And I say that because when I heard that he's much more athletic in person, the initial thing that I originally thought of was, we're talking a lot about the NBA, but like a guy like Luka Doncic, right? Like a guy like Jokic, where if you were to look at them without a shirt on, you're like, that guy's an athlete. And then you go up against him, you're like, wow, like he's a lot stronger than I thought. Oh, wow, he's a lot faster than I thought. I was also, kind of told that he's a football player in the sense that Brock Bowers is a football player. I'm not saying Jack Bech is Brock Bowers. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying if you could get the Dollar General version, right? The Dollar General version of Jack Bech, or a Dollar General version of Brock Bowers, and that is your number 2 receiver in Bech, I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing, because I think when people watch Bowers play, he's kind of that same thing where you look at him and you're like, oh, he can't be this good. Like, there was questions of how good he was even after you saw it for 3 years at Georgia. And then, you saw it last year for the Raiders. He's a lot faster. He's a lot better at catching. He just does so many things so well. And Bech showed very early on that he is the second best wide receiver on our team. And I'll say it, I think Jack Bech's going to have a bigger year than Trey Tucker. And that might be a hot take for some people, because I think Bech is a better receiver. Though I do think Trey Tucker might be the better athlete and might be the better weapon. But I got to ask this, because this is going to be a huge question. Maybe Tucker plays special teams. Maybe Jack Bech isn't the number 2 wide receiver. But I am going to sit up here and I'm going to tell you, I believe the bigger impact this season will be Bech, and I'm going to type JB. But this will be the pinned comment on today's show, and you're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. Will Trey Tucker or Jack Bech have a bigger impact for the Raiders this season? I'm going to say Jack Bech makes the bigger impact, not only from a receiving standpoint, but also from a blocking standpoint. You have to have the mentality that I want to block. And that's huge when you have a running back in Ashton Jeanty. And because of that, that's why I think Bech is going to be just the bigger, impactful player. Though, I hope that Trey Tucker does get used the way that all of us have been hoping Trey Tucker gets used. Let's go to the last and the biggest winner on offense, and it's Ashton Jeanty. This one should not surprise anybody, quite frankly. If Jeanty wasn't number 1 on this list, that would have been a problem, right? But I'm telling y'all right now, he's the real deal, y'all. Like, he everything that he did, it looked almost too easy. It was nonchalant. It looked like somebody that has been doing it for years, and he's out there. I know that we are in the National Football League, and I know that this is rookie minicamp, and it'll be fun to see Jeanty up against, some of these other NFL players. But from what I understood, it was like Jeanty was like clearly the best player, and everybody else like just wasn't close to him. And it's because Jeanty, I think, is just such a phenomenal blue chip prospect. He's also a leader on and off the field. I will say that he's quiet, where one of the players told me he's leads by example, doesn't say too much, and it kind of reminds me of like a Colton Miller, where Colton Miller also was the same way of, I'm going to lead by example, and you're not really going to hear too much from me, but that's just because that's not my personality. Jeanty's going to show up. He's going to give you 110%. I was told that he did look better at catching the football than what some people expected, but that to me was something that I knew that he brought to the table. It's never that I thought that he couldn't catch it. It's just he was never really asked to do it at Boise because he didn't really need to. Some honorable mentions that I do want to throw out for Raiders rookie minicamp winners and losers. Ketron Jackson and Keyshawn Smith. Those guys ended up making the Raiders 53-man roster. I'll be real. 90-man roster, excuse me. Yeah, they got signed to the 90-man roster officially. But like, for that, that's a win. Those are 2 players that were not signed as UDFAs, and now they have an opportunity to go out there and compete. I was also told Cam Miller was better than Hajj Malik Williams, and not that I'm too surprised by that, but whoever was going to be better out of that dynamic was going to be the winner on the show. So Cam Miller, I was told, was the better one out of those 2 guys. In terms of the minicamp losers, and again, this show is more about the good, and that's what's important. Tyreik McAllister, Dominic Boyd, Kristian Wilkerson. All 3 of those players got cut. And I don't know how you could be a bigger loser than that. I'm not going to paint a picture of some of these other players that weren't there. I probably can take a little bit more of a deep dive, but today's show is more about showing these young rookies love and all the good. The players that got cut, I think we can all agree that he would be considered a loser on this show. Coming up next here, we are going to get into some more winners and losers. This time, it's going to be on the defensive side of the football. Before I take a deep dive into that, friendly reminder, every day this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be live, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. NFL schedule release. We're going to be live over, 4 hours on Wednesday. Going to have a lot of fun. Going to be breaking down the Raiders schedule. Thursday, normal live show, 3 segments for you. And then Friday, May 16th, Madden Week 1 simulation. I already saw Chugs on Tuesday was firing up the old PS5 and getting all the rosters situated. I can't flip and wait. It's going to be a great time. And if you're just like me, where you're like, dude, I'm itching for Raiders football. I know it's Madden, but we're going to have a lot of fun. And I promise you, you're going to have a lot of fun. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those noties are turned on. All right, let's go to defense here. And some of the minicamp winners on defense. Coming in at number 5, Mello Dotson, cornerback. One of my buddies who was at practice told me that Dotson brings the juice. And I love that expression because Pete Carroll brings the juice, right? And the fact that Carroll's got all these DBs working and going out there and competing, you need a UDFA like Mello Dotson because it's going to make everybody else better. When you look at this Raiders cornerback room, and I get it, Stokes, Jacorian, DeCamerion, Richardson, they're not at rookie minicamp, or at least they weren't. But when you have a player like Mello Dotson that's going to light that flame and get everybody else around him to going out there and competing, Pete Carroll loves that type of shit. Dotson's technique also, I would say, is further along than what most UDFA technique is. I will say, just from an athletic standpoint, Dotson doesn't have the athletic traits that you look for in an NFL corner, but he's a competitor. And Pete Carroll loves corners that can compete. Let's go to number 4 here. J.J. Pegues, defensive tackle. And one of my fun notes that I had on Pegues from over the weekend was that he always had a smile on his face, and he always looked like he was just, a kid in a candy store having a great time. Pegues and Hemingway were really hitting the bags pretty hard. I think they were trying to show early on that they're going to bring some pop, that they're going to be able to bring a little bit of versatility, and they were trying to hurt some people, and I think that that's a good thing. When I say people, I mean the coach is essentially holding up the bags. But the other thing that I heard about Pegues that I knew he was good at was he was a lot better of an athlete than I think what he tested at, and that's why Ole Miss, allowed him to run the football at times. But one of the clear things that I saw was that he was a big boy and that his feet moved much better than anticipated, and his hands were also quick. I do think one of the reasons why an Adam Butler is as successful in the NFL as what he is because he's got quick hands and he's got quick feet. And even though he's not the best athlete, when you get a first step on guys that are over 300 pounds, you just get the better angle and you can get lower. Pegues is showing me early on some good in that. Let's go to number 3 here, and it's Laki Tasi, the International Pathway Program defensive tackle. And dude's a monster. Chug said, please get a headshot. So to the Raiders organization, can we please get a good picture of Laki Tasi? That way we can use on our show. Just a gigantic human being. I mean, we're talking about a 6'6", 350-pound human being that when he was there was asking a lot of questions, clearly showing that he's eager to learn. And, when you're talking about the International Pathway Program player, I get that, David Ago the past few years wasn't really used. And Laki Tasi might not be used as well, but there have been players that have been through the International Pathway Program player that have turned on to be good players. Like Jordan Mailata is a great example. But look at how big Tasi is. And it's not just from the height standpoint, thickness-wise. Like, Tasi is, look at his legs. Like Chuck just said, look how big his torso is. Pete Carroll, I get it, he's old. He is standing up, essentially looking at Tasi's eyes. And Tasi looks like he could just crumble up Pete Carroll and stuff him in his pocket. You know what I mean? Like, he just carry him around, or the Step Brothers, where shove him up there, feel your curly hair, and every time you move, that feels a tickle. Like, that's what Laki Tasi could do with Pete Carroll. But my point is here, if he can get better, right? And if he's already showing you that he wants to learn and continuously get better, you can't teach the size of 6'6", 350. You can't teach the ability to be the athlete that he is, because he is a good athlete. But he's just learning how to play football. He's just learning how to do it. And if what the Raiders need is a big defensive tackle to take on double teams, a true nose, which is what this organization's been looking for at tackle, Laki Tasi, you put him out there, he's going to be a field, I was going to say, he's going to clog up some holes. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're doing tush-push, you don't want to tush-push with Laki Tasi right there. He's going to stop it. We got some more winners on the defensive side of the football here in just a moment. But again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Panda Sups. Use code Jeanty for 25% off at pandasups.com. And if you're wondering, Mitch, what's the wedding stack that you've been using? These are the products that I am currently using right now, and I use them every single day. Now, if you want to go shop products for you, I encourage you to be able to do that, right? And I would want people to figure out what products work for them because everybody is different. Every body is different. So the protein, the BCAAs, the creatine, and the Cuts Fat Burner, they're right now working for me because it's the plan that I have my body set up with. Also, some random Raiders news that just happened. The Titans were awarded Amari Gainer off waivers, and then also Matthew Butler. He just got claimed as well to the Miami Dolphins. So, kind of interesting connections there. My point is, Panda Sups has always done a great job. I also wanted to just fill you in on some of that news that just happened. This might be news to some of y'all, but if you spend more than $100 and you live in the United States at pandasups.com and use code Jeanty, you're also going to get a shaker and a bag to take to the gym. I will say this is not a picture of me. I've been trying to get the Raiders owner of Panda Sups to put some pics of me on here, but I don't know if he's going to do it. The only pics that he has of me are from like 6 years ago, and I look very, very different. Let's go to number 2 here. It's linebacker Jaylon Smith, and I'm surprised Jaylon Smith's on this show, but he made the roster. He showed up on Friday to get his rookie minicamp training in, and, you know, he's a 29-year-old going up against a bunch of 21, 22, 23, 24-year-old, 25-year-olds. And Smith looked healthy. And I think that that's always been the big question around Jaylon and whether or not is he healthy. Because when he's healthy, he's got it upstairs. Like, he's a smart football player. And that's what made him so great at Notre Dame. Like, he was a good athlete at Notre Dame. But he had it up here, and he was a team captain. That's what made him one of the best linebackers that year before that just horrific knee injury. He moved well sideline to sideline, and anytime I hear knee injury, I ask people, how do they look going side to side? I was told that was good, and he must look pretty good because he ended up making the flipping roster, and the Raiders moved on from a young Amari Gainer. That tells me that Jaylon Smith did look good. I was also told he was vocal, he was encouraging teammates, and when you're 29 trying to make a roster, that's what you need to be able to do. The number one, though, the biggest winner on defense, Darien Porter, and I don't want to say that it's not close, but like to me, Bech, Ashton Jeanty clearly separated themselves, and Darien Porter also clearly separated himself. And you could tell that he played wide receiver, which is one of the things that I was told over the weekend. And he's a really smart football player, and I loved his press conference that he gave earlier in the week. And you could tell that he is confident in his athletic ability, but he doesn't want to rely on his athletic ability. And he is another one of these freak athletes that just glides across the football field. And it looks effortless, his long strides. He just runs, and he just runs right by you. But if Porter can learn how to be an NFL corner, and I say that in the nicest way possible because he's just learning how to play corner. He was a wide receiver converted. But when he runs routes, you could kind of tell that he's thinking, all right, if I was a receiver, where would I be going here? And he can get to the point very quickly. And again, he's a good athlete. But because he just moves so well, very, very smart football player. And I think Raider fans should be very encouraged based on the information that I received on Darien Porter, based on the information that I received on Ashton Jeanty and Bech. Sounds like we got 3 really good players to start the draft. Here are some other honorable mentions on defense. Wesley Steiner, he ended up making the roster, which I'm looking at that picture, and that's not Wesley Steiner. Yeah, Jonathan Sutherland. Yeah, I'll say Harvey and Steiner are mixed up. So Jahfari Harvey, he's supposed to be this one. Wesley Steiner is supposed to be this guy here. Those are both winners. Jonathan Sutherland got to be a winner again. He ended up making the roster. But then, even though they did not participate, and, you know, this is like one of the mental battles that I go through from time to time. All right, shout out to Chugs. Yeah, Wesley Steiner, Jahfari Harvey. I was like, I know they're new, but, man, that doesn't look right. But even though Gainer and Tommy Eichenberg did not participate in rookie minicamp, I still wanted to be able to put them on this show because of Amari Gainer getting cut. And I don't know. I really don't think Jaylon Smith honestly makes this roster. I think he's just brought in to be more competition. But I really, really thought that the sounds like Devin White's going to be a starter, and it sounds like, Elandon Roberts is going to be a starter, and I thought it was going to be between Gainer, Eichenberg, and Burney to kind of fight out for that number 3 linebacker spot. Now with Burney gone, that just opens the door for Gainer and Eichenberg, and I do really think that those two are winners despite not even being at rookie minicamp. The losers are Amari Burney, who I just mentioned. He ended up getting claimed off waivers to the Titans, which shouldn't surprise anybody. That's where Dave Ziegler is at right now. Matthew Butler down in Miami, which that also doesn't really surprise me. I believe Butler actually last season spent a little bit of time in Miami. Also has got some of those Rob Leonard connections. Maybe Leonard was trying to help him out with some of his other ties to Miami to go down there. And then Brandon Smith also ended up being released by the Raiders on Monday. So one more time here, the Raiders rookie minicamp winners on offense: Ashton Jeanty, Jack Bech, Caleb Rogers, Dante Thornton Jr., Tommy Mellott. And then on the defensive side of the football, Darien Porter, Jaylon Smith, Laki Tasi, J.J. Pegues, and Mello Dotson. These are also based off of the reports and based off the communications that I had with my people. The cool part about Raiders rookie minicamp is there's so much action going on that I bet you there's a lot of other players that deserve their flowers. I'm just simply going off the information that I received from my guys, from the players that I talked to at Raiders rookie minicamp.